It's high noon on the dot, and I'm buying in for $300 in the 1-3 game. And 5 minutes into the session, I look down at ace queen of diamonds right off the bat. We're getting into it. The under the gun player limps. The middle position throws in 3. And I'm going to go a little bigger than my standard 15 because of the 2 limpers ahead. I make it 20. The hijack behind me makes the call. The big blind defends, but the 2 limpers surprisingly fold. We're going 3 ways to the flop. 67 in the pot, and I whiff it. I do pick up a diamond, which is fantastic, leaving that backdoor draw open. And I think this is a great flop for me to continue betting when the big blind checks to me. You can get hands like 10 jack suited, queen jack suited to fold. I make it 35. The hijack mucks his hand. The big blind quickly grabs chips and puts in the 35. We're going to head to the turn. The dealer disappoints me once again, puts out a 6. The big blind checks very quickly again, and I'm going to slow down and check it back. I think for my opponent to call the flop, he at least has a pair. 4 to a straight comes out. I don't think I can represent a 7. We go to showdown, and he flips up the winner, 9-8 of hearts. I may have been able to push him off with 2 bullets, but he was definitely calling at least 1. Down to 244, top back up for 55, so now I'm in for 355. And we're off to the very next hand. The dealer passes the cards around the felt, and I look down at a suited semi-connector, jack 9 of diamonds in middle position, literally the very next hand. The player to my right limps, and I'm going to grab 3 reds, raise it up to 15. I don't think this open is bad, but at the beginning of the session, when you're just trying to get a feel for the table, I think it's okay to play a little tighter, especially from out of position. The button with about 100 behind makes the call. The small blind grabs chips and defends his blind. So does the big blind. The under the gun player folds it out of the way. We're going 4 ways to the flop, which is terrible for me because of my position. I'm sure I'm in a negative EV spot right now, so I'm going to have to either hit this flop or get out of town. But not only do I hit it, I pull a Will Smith and smack the out of it. Not quite a straight flush draw, but I'll take it. The player to my right checks, and I'm going to put in a bet. I could get fancy and try to check raise, but it risks checking all the way around. I want to put in money, get a bunch of players to call, hope that someone raises me. I make it 30. Button quickly folds out of the way. Actions on seat 9, and I see my active hands. Active mind tell. This is a reliable tell. If the hands are racing, the mind is 2. He takes 25 off a stack of 100, grabs a 75 and raises me. That's right. Puts in a raise, not a big raise. And I could care less if he shoved me all in. Even if he has his very best holdings, I'm still, I think, like 52% to win. There's only one move, and that's to rip the stack. Although it's not a made hand, it feels like one. He tosses in a chip. We're going to the river. I'm either going to spin it up or rebuy. The turn brings me a pair, but I don't think it's enough. And the river brings me the straight. And the straight takes down a monster of a hand. Pocket 10s. It's always nice to look at a set and say RIP as long as it's not me. And this is how you want to start a session. A full double up straight out of the gate, less than 10 minutes in. And now I have to use my 200 big blinds to my advantage. 621 in the pile, and I get 6-5 of spades. I'm in the low jack. The under the gun player limps. Actions on seat 1. He limps as well. I want to see the flop, but I need to put some money in the pot because there's no point in playing without a raise with the rake. It folds around to the big blind who makes the call. The under the gun player calls, and the middle position comes along. 4-way action to the flop. 41 in the pot. The dealer does her thing, flips over the cards, and I pick up another draw, not nearly as strong as my last one. I only have 6 high, and these Broadway cards could lead to some action. It checks to me, and I absolutely could check behind in this spot, but as the old school players say, I put in a bet of 25 to see where I'm at. And it does get some folds. The big blind and under the gun leave the hand. The middle position, the player to my right makes the call. We're going to the turn heads up, and it brings me my spade. I could complain that my flush is weak, but when my opponent checks to me, all I can think about is that I have a great hand in position, and I don't have much to worry about because my opponent's stack is only $100, and I'm going to go for the whole thing. I'm going to stick with a conservative bet to try to lure him in. I do have to be concerned about another spade on the river. I go for a half-size pot bet of 50. My opponent takes his time, mulls it over. He's obviously going to have to fold or be committed with his entire stack, and he decides on the ladder, puts the entire 100 in. And I make the quick call, just have to fade some bad rivers, particularly a spade, and it does come out a spade. My opponent checks his hand to see if he has a flush. I show him mine, and it's bad news. He flips up his hand, 2 pair on the flop, ace, jack, and once again, 2 monsters clash, but the draw came out on top, and just like that, with a little bit of run good, my stack is up to lucky 777. I leave tomorrow for the main event in Vegas, and I have a question for you guys about day 1. Which one should I play on? Probably not the 4th of July because there's going to be a lot of European crushers in that field. But if I play on C or D, I'm not going to get a rest day between day 2 and day 3. So let me know. I trade in 500 reds for greens. I've built up a beautiful stack quickly, and we're moving on to the next hand. I look down at not a great hand, ace-7 offsuit, but maybe we can make something out of it. After all, I am partly committed into small blind. It folds around to the low jack, who limps. The hijack limps as well. Action gets back to me, and since I have an ace in my hand, I'll make the call. We'll see what develops. And we're going to the flop with not a lot of money in the pot. It comes out with an ace on board. 2 low cards. The low jack bets 5. The hijack calls. I make the call. The turn comes out a king. I check again. I'm not that invested in this small pot, just trying to get to showdown. Actions on the hijack. He throws out 3 reds, and although I have an ace, I don't think I have the best hand, and there's not much worth playing for, so I get rid of it. Turns out to be a good fold. Someone limped pre-flop with ace-queen, and we have king deuce for the 2 pair on the turn. No sweat, though, because we're still sitting with a great chip stack. Only 1 hour into the session, I look down at 9-8 of hearts in the cutoff. A playable hand for sure. Only the hijack is limped, and I open to 15. The small blind defends. The big blind does as well. The hijack folds 3 ways to the flop. I catch middle pair, and I have backdoor opportunities. Action checks to me, and I'm going to bet my hand. I make it 15. The small blind gets out of the way. The big blind, with only about 120, makes the call. And we're headed to the turn, looking to improve my equity with 2 pair or another heart, and I get a heart. The big blind defers his option to bet. I'm betting the equity that I just picked up, looking for folds, but I do it with the wrong sizing. I make it 25, which is not enough to get the fold equity that I need against hands that still beat me, but aren't made hands. Hands like 10-8, queen 10, 10-9, all hands that would have a hard time continuing to a larger sizing. The big blind continues. His stack is small enough to where I don't know if I'm going to be able to push him off of the river. The river comes a queen, and those hands that I could have gotten to fold, like queen 10, queen 8 on the flop, now have top pair on the board and aren't going anywhere. So I just give up the hand check, and my opponent flips up a weird queen 7, hit his queen on the river, but what the heck was he doing staying in that pot? And seeing that nonsense hand makes me even more upset about my sizing on the turn. Sizing is so important. It's complicated, but made much simpler by thinking of it in terms of 2 sizing, either a small bet or a large bet. Which one will be better, and what's the purpose of each? 1 orbit later, in the small blind again, we get a suited king. And there's 1 limper. The middle position player tosses in 3. It folds around to me, and I'm going to have to play the hand. And I want to play for something. I probably have the best hand. I make it 15. The middle position says it takes 2 to tango and tosses in the call. And the flop comes out a whiff. It's better for his range. I check it. He checks behind. We go to the turn, and I pick up an open-ended. I'm betting my open-ended. I make it 20. And the villain makes the call. So we're going to have to improve, but we've had a run-good session. Maybe we'll catch what we need on the river, but a queen crashes the party again. And I check and give up. Just going to preserve my stack. He throws in a bet of 40, and I fold, of course. Losing a little bit of chips, but not enough to get my panties in a bunch. Still have 674 in my stack. Make sure you hit that like button to help the algorithm out. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let's get back to the action. King Jack offsuit in the big blind. Playing a lot of blinds. Not what I want to be doing, but it's been a limp fest. The under the gun limps. The cutoff limps as well. I put in a raise with my strong hand. Going to raise it a little bit bigger because I'm out of position. I make it 20. And the under the gun player who limped shoves his whole stack and makes it 120. I know this trick. I've seen it before, and my hand is not strong enough, so I muck. And I pick up another ace-7 offsuit 2 hands later on the button. The middle position and cutoff limp. And I'm going to put in another raise, maybe a little loose, but these limps are just driving me crazy. I go with 20 again, and I get 1 caller, my mortal enemy from across the table. We're going mono a mono heads up to the flop, and I want to take the pot down this time. It comes out with 2 spades. I'm holding the ace of spades, but other than that, no bueno. And our nemesis wants to donk bet out, leads out for 20. I can probably find folds here a lot, but I probably can also mix it with some calls since I am drawing to the nuts. This time I do make the call, and we go to the turn, which brings another spade. I love to see it, but chasing backdoor flushes is dangerous, can cost you a lot of money. I'm putting a lot of faith in another spade coming, and my opponent isn't letting up. Bet 60, and this is a complicated spot because maybe I should put in a raise. The king scares all of his queens that he hits on the flop, and I am holding the nut flush blocker, but I just make the call, and the river does not improve us. Now I am in a really tough position. But luckily, my opponent checks to me, so I have a window of breathing room, and I immediately go to grab chips. I grab greens. I know I'm not going to win if I don't bet, so I put in a $200 bet. And my opponent quickly mucks his hand, taking down the pot, glad to be able to pick it up with a bluff at the end. And a lot of nice-sized pots are being shipped to me this session. It feels great, and it's been a very quick session. An hour and a half has only passed. I decided to do a table change. I see a better table on the horizon, looking to mix it up with some active players, but unfortunately the cards don't allow me to do that. I have to fold for an hour straight. So I guess I'll shamelessly plug my card protector. It's absolutely beautiful. It has weight. People are surprised at how great it feels in the hand when they finally get it. It's high quality, and it can be yours. Just go to shoppokerbeast.com, pick up queens, take down the blinds, and I'm getting worn out, about ready to pick it up, and I look down at Jack 8 of clubs in middle position. I've just been wanting to play a hand, and when there's a limper ahead of me, I think this one is good enough for me to put in a bet. I make it 15. Everyone else folds. Back to the middle position player who makes the call, and we go to a flop that's juicy, 2-pair, but very connected. I do have a backdoor flush draw as well, and my opponent must have connected. Bets 25, leads into me on a board that's this wet. I'm going to protect my hand and put in a raise. I make it 75, and 75 is a price that he's glad to pay. He makes a call. He's got about 150 left. The turn gives me the straight flush draw, but also brings 4 to a straight. I'm not sure if I love this card or hate it. I'm leaning on the side of hating it because my hand was already strong enough on the flop. My opponent checks to me, and I'm going to check back, try to realize some equity. Let's play it safe. Don't want to get re-raised.
Call.
My opponent missteps, goes all in with a straight. My clubs are better, and the draws have just been running in my favor this session. $1,031 in my stack. I spend 30 minutes folding, realize I'm happy with my win, decide to pick up my chips, take him to the cage, determined to cold hard cash, in for $355, out for $1,046 for a profit of $691. Thank you so much for watching. I love poker content. You love poker content. Well, you have 2 more options on the screen to watch. Enjoy another 10 minutes of poker. Learn a little bit, laugh a little bit, love a little bit. If you got 10 more minutes, you might as well catch another great episode. Thank you so much.